Shalom, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai. Let's give all praises to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai. It belongs to the apostles, elders, and bishops, great millstone that taught us his word, repeating salutations to hopeful life across the planet Earth, pushing this truth to the spirit and in truth. I just want to talk about, thoughtful communication because, your words are very powerful and you want to make sure that you communicate in the best way possible. It's something that I strive to work on. Even though I'm already, naturally quiet person, Satan's always in the midst. He can kind of, through his agitation, knock you off your square. But, through your everyday life and also through, the highways and the byways, you want to make sure that you communicate and properly. And there's always a purpose behind your speech, because miscommunication is very easy. There's always, through too many words, you can miscommunicate, your points. But this is the AI overview. A Google search for thoughtful communication through Stoicism or in Stoicism. Use thoughtful Stoic communication means speaking with virtue, reason, and clarity, focusing on necessary, honest, and concise words, avoiding emotional reactions, and actively listening to understand, all while aiming for truth, fairness, and connection, not manipulation. Especially, avoiding emotional reactions. You want to make sure that you come off clear and concise and honest and use concise words. It involves pausing before speaking, mastering emotions, considering others' perspectives, and listening and speaking only when your contribution is useful. Reflecting virtues like prudence, justice, and temperance. I know that's in the scriptures. The four virtues, really four of them. Fortitude, that will profit you in your everyday life. Prudence, justice, and temperance. But also speaking only when your contribution is useful. Especially when you're out teaching, man, you want to make sure that the points you make are driving the word forward and the truth forward. Not just off an emotional reaction. Also in your everyday life, when you're dealing with that sifting, that Satan is going to do, the agitation that you're going to come with, that you don't react emotional, in that time of testing, But yeah, the key principles for Stoic communication: clarity and consciousness, saying only what's necessary, clearly and precisely, to prevent misunderstanding. Because when you get in your emotions and you're just rambling off at the tongue, your point can be misunderstood. Okay, so you want to clearly and precisely make your point if it moves the point forward, to prevent misunderstanding. Don't speak from anger, fear, or negativity. Pause and control emotional reactions. Now, this is applies mostly in your everyday life. Because when you're on the streets, you're going to be angry or whatever. That's part of the truth. But even in your anger, you want to make sure you pause and control to where you made your point clearly and concisely. But in your everyday life, when Satan is out there, you don't speak from anger, fear, or negativity. Active listening. Pay attention and speak and seek to understand others' perspectives. Fostering a connection, especially, if you're in a leadership position, whether it be in the truth or in your job or whatever, you want to, understand others' perspectives, have that empathy. Honesty and truthfulness. Speak truthfully and avoid aggregation or manipulative language, exaggeration, purposeful contribution. Speak only when you can add something useful, Everybody wants to get their turn in, say something, be heard. The point is pushing this truth. You know, speak only when you can add something useful. That's something that I try to work on. Especially out there on the highways and byways, man. Don't speak when you can add something useful to the conversation or to the lesson. Otherwise, listen. Analyze situations rationally, setting aside biases. Communicate with balance. Consider the impact of your words on others. Consider the impact. Your words have an impact, Certain words, will resonate with people, man. You say something, and before speaking, to pause, to take a breath. Is this necessary? Is this true? Will it help? You want to go through that in your head, man. Before you're speaking, analyze what it is that you're about to say. Is it true? And will it help? During speaking, the content, be direct, use simple language, stick to the facts, and avoid dramatic storytelling or catastrophizing. People that we got guys that very performative when they're speaking. They want to add a whole bunch of drama and all that. You would avoid that. Be direct, use simple language, stick to the facts, and avoid dramatic storytelling, man. After speaking, the reflection. Did you speak with virtue? Did you listen well? Can you learn from the exchange? After you say something, reflect on what you said. Did it make sense? Did it drive the story forward? Did it drive the point forward? Did you add to the conversation? Did you add to the lesson? Or did you just speak out of emotion? Did you speak just to hear yourself speak? A lot of times it's best just to listen. The first scripture is Proverbs 10 and 19. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin. You look up that word wanteth. The Hebrew word there is a chadal. Chadal means to stop, cease, to test, forego, cease to be, to cease, come to an end, to cease, leave off. Main word being to cease. So in the multitude of words, there cease to cease, not sin. Satan's right there in the midst of multitude of words, man. In the multitude of words, there ceases not sin. He that refraineth from his lips is wise. Yeah, Satan right there, man, in the midst of words. So, you want to be strong in that situation, man. Yeah, clarity and conciseness. Say only what's necessary, clearly and precisely, to prevent misunderstanding. Use too many words, saying will come up there and misconstrue everything, man, in someone else's mind. Next scripture, Ecclesiastes 3 and 7. A time to run, a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak. There's always that time to keep silence, man. So James 1 and 19. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Yes, slow to speak, swift to hear. Yeah, purposeful contribution. Speak only when you can add something useful. Otherwise, listen, you know. Swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Because you want to avoid that exaggeration or manipulative language, because that will, you know, increase the chances of wrath, Be manipulative. Next scripture is Psalms 141 and 3. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Set a watch, I pray, Lord, keep you disciplined with your mouth. Before my mouth, keep the door of my lips. Because your speech, can lead to all sorts of different things, man. Negative things. Like I said, the saying's right there in the midst of a multitude of words. So you want to play for that discipline, man. Temperance is one of the four virtues. Justice, temperance, fortitude, it's missing fortitude, and prudence, man. That discipline with your words and your speech and your actions every day, man. Set that guard. Like I said, before speaking, the pause. Take a breath. Is this necessary? Is it true? Will it help? It's that practical application you want to think about before you open your mouth. Proverbs 17 and 27. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Even a fool, when he hideth his peace, is counted wise. And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. There's a saying in the world, and a man that's quiet, if he is thought to be a fool, and he opened up his mouth, he removes all doubt, Basically, like if you're speaking on something you don't understand, or you're speaking recklessly, people are going to count you as a fool. But even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, he is counted wise. And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. Don't speak from anger, fear, or negativity. Pause and control emotional reactions. Say only what's necessary, clearly and precisely, to prevent misunderstanding. So a fool, is considered wise. But our last scripture, Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, 32 and 8. Let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. And that should be the goal, for every man. You want to understand much, or set an understanding in much, in few words possible. You don't want to be rambling at the mouth all the time, man. be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. That's what real power. That's power right there. Be as one that knoweth but holdeth his tongue. And you know something, but you don't put it out there, man. That's what the elites do, man. They have knowledge. They work in secrecy. So you want to be as one that knoweth yet holdeth his tongue, man, because that's where the power really lies, man. But let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words, man. So that's something we all want to work towards, and not one that's very performative and comprehending. You want to comprehend much in a few words, man. Yeah, I just want to get on that thoughtful communication, man. Clarity, conciseness, emotional mastery, active listening. It's very important. Active listening. Pay attention. To seek others' perspectives, fostering a connection, man. You want to listen more. Yeah, comprehending much in a few words. With that, shalom.